Hello, everybody. Welcome to Crew Call Live. I'm Hardy Clunder. This is broadcastworkshops.org. This is Crew Call Live on Behind the Broadcast YouTube channel. This is my weekly discussion with sports and entertainment professionals. This week, I have a very, very special guest, a longtime friend of mine, a guy that I've watched work and have admired his work for so long. We were coming up together. Probably he was ahead of me in the game, much more ahead of me in the game and on the skill set. I was working my jobs in Fox and doing my thing, and he was at CBS doing his thing. He was already on the A crew, and I was watching his work, and I was like, man, this guy elevates the game. So let me introduce you to my friend, Jim Kimmons. Jimmy, how are you, my friend?
Wow, those are kind words, Hardy.
Well, it's the
I'm not
truth,
sure they're
man.
warranted, but
No, it's the truth because I remember there's a lot of guys in this business that that are my
oh,
peers,
my
but
dog's here to help.
that's good.
Sorry
But
about that. Get
there are a
away
lot
from
of
me.
guys who are my peers in this business, and you work alongside each other, and you see, but they're guys who make you, you see their work, and you're like, wow, this guy is really bringing it, and I got to start really thinking about if I want to be one of these guys that starts to bring it, and I got a chance to watch you work and see your stuff before I even knew who you really were. I had kind of heard the legend of Jimmy Kimmons, before I got to meet the man. So it was interesting to me, like back in the day. So I'm curious, Jimmy, how do you're from Indiana, right? You were born and raised in Indiana,
Illinois, actually, but
Illinois. But did you get when was your first exposure, or when would the thought that you were like, hey, I think I might want to start a career in broadcasting?
you know what, Hardy? If I'm being honest, I was a freshman in high school. They were looking for somebody to film at that point, Super 8, the varsity football games, and there was something that just resonated with that, and I thought, okay, I'll give that a shot. Worked with a guy for my first season, an older guy. I guess he taught me how to shoot game films, and I parlayed that into a career.
So that young, you had an inkling of like, I think I can do this. I think I want it. So you were learning the basics.
Well, I didn't know it was going to be a living, but clearly there was an interest and some acumen to being able to do it, and for it, and a million years later, here we are.
But so in that journey, so that was your first initial like inkling that like, hey, maybe this is something I should look into. But when did it start to become a reality? Like, hey, maybe I could start looking for a job in this, or start. Did you still go to school? Did you go to college
Well,
for it?
I got out of school and got a job working for the local ABC affiliate, shooting news.
ENG, doing ENG
Yeah,
style.
and that sort of, I worked my way more or less to more sports than anything else. And after I overstayed my welcome there, um, a few weeks later, a buddy of mine called and said, "Hey, ABC is looking for people to do utility work at an Illinois football game." And he was a British citizen and didn't have his green card, so he couldn't do it. But he recommended me,
So,
and
so you did that gig. That was your first
so
gig.
I showed up and I worked for Eric Liddell, who I'm sure most people know. Um, and they said, "Hey, you did a really good job. We've got a game in Michigan. If you can get yourself there, we'll hire you up there." And I mean, I knew within minutes of being at that Illinois game, okay, this is what I want to do. And that was in the very infancy of per diem or per
But
diem
wait,
TV work.
wait. So you were working as a utility. Were you looking at the camera guy next to you, going, "Okay, that's my next step"?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Like I said, I was pulling cable for Eric Liddell, and I ended up doing a few games with him, and I'd get a radio so I could hear the director and learn the nomenclature and be able to anticipate what Eric was going to do.
See, that's
Um,
good. That's
and
being
and
that
and I
was,
think
but that's
that
smart on your end because you were taking advantage of the situation and you had exposure. You had an opportunity to be exposed to it and to learn from it properly, you were like, hey, the best way I can learn about what he's doing is to hear who he's talking to. A lot of guys won't even
Absolutely.
take that initiative to even think that.
It absolutely was that way. And I learned, after I'd done a few football games, they said, hey, our golf season is starting. If you want to do our golf, um, and since I was extra unemployed at that point, I thought that would be a banner idea. And I learned that the first thing in the morning, the video guys want to get the cameras unbagged and get them faxed. And I learned that the camera guys, the first thing they wanted to do was sit and have coffee. So I got with the video guys and I said, hey, I'll go unbag those cameras if you'd like. You do that? Yeah, I'd be happy to. So, the camera guys were happy, the video guys are happy. So now I'm unbagging the hard cameras, and the video guy would say, okay, let's do back focus. Okay, well, I know how to do that on an E&G camera, but I don't know how to do it on a hard camera. Okay, well, let me show you how to do it. And
See,
they'd say,
that's the
okay,
best. Isn't that the best feeling right there when you like you're offered to be helpful and then it comes back to you with information. See, that is the key to this business, man.
oh,
You
absolutely.
be helpful to somebody else and they will be more than willing to share the information to you.
Absolutely. And, jump fast forward now. Um, three of the current handhelds at CBS Golf were my utility guys for an extended period of time. And we'd go out for an early show or something. And I said, hey, go ahead and cover these. Go ahead and cover these shots. And they'd look at me and, are you serious? I said, yeah, knock yourself out. So I taught them how to cover golf, or at least I taught them what I knew about covering golf, and they learned the rest on their own. But the
Yeah.
point is, they did the same thing that I did. Is they took advantage of an opportunity.
Well, they took advantage of working with somebody who happens to have seen a lot of golf and been in certain places. And obviously, looking what I'm looking at right now, you're there with Tiger, and you've been able to capture and be at some of golf's most amazing moments. But my thing about golf, and I've only had a few opportunities to work on golf, and I didn't do any major stuff. I just got a chance to be there and enjoy the learning experience on my end to see the real guys, you guys, doing what you do. Because the real thing about any other sport that you almost deal with is in a confined element space. Basketball and football, left to right in the field, soccer, all in the field. Golf is all over the place. So it's not a common, there's not like a set framing for every shot. You have to self-direct. You have to kind of know positioning because you can't you have a limited amount of time to position yourself to get the shot so you're not obtrusive to the view of the golfer or the golfer. Like, so talk about how you learned all that stuff, because that nuance is very interesting of how it plays out, especially on golf.
I had some great mentors. Um, Paul T. Sherwood was probably the most influential where golf is concerned. He was the a handheld for CBS for decades and decades and decades. Um, and at the end of every day, I'd see Paul T in the trailer, and he'd give me this, and I'd go over and he'd say, "Explain to me." And he wouldn't say I was wrong. He just wanted me to justify what I was doing. And he'd listen to it and he'd say, okay, I probably would have done it this way. And that's how I learned. Is again, nobody said you've got to do this, 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 and this. They'd wait until I did it questionably and then make me explain it so I understood it. And then they explained an alternate way of doing it.
So he helps you understand the situation and then to realize how to better find a solution to those issues. Because in golf, the play is so, you're not always following the same golfer. You can be
Lance,
golf to
Lance
golf.
Barrow always, Lance, anybody in the business knows Lance. Lance always said it's the only game where you're on the field with the players. and it's not one ball.
Yeah, you're right.
It's
It's
a, it's
multiple.
a,
Yeah.
it's at
Everyone has a
least
ball.
it's at least two balls, and sometimes if there are two groups on the same, there are four balls in play. So it's kind of a head on a swivel situation. And the Hardy, you're going to make mistakes when you cover golf. You just are. If there are 100 ways to do it wrong, every day we find 100 know about. It's just
It,
it's the
it,
nature of the game.
I know it's so crazy sometimes because like when you think you've seen everything that you've ever seen in sports, sports will surprise you, man. I mean,
Oh,
just
absolutely.
last like the other week, the Giant game, I'm watching it with my son. We were watching the Giant game and the guy stubs his toe on the kick, right?
Right, right, right,
He
right.
looks at me, he goes, "Dad, you ever see that?" I go, "I ain't never seen that." And I've done a lot of football in my time. So it's crazy. Like you think you've seen it all. Like you like we I mean that's my joke on facts, man. When I every time I do facts on a show and the TD we're going through tallies and returns and everything else, I end my facts with seen it heard it all, my friend. But we haven't. That's the beauty of sports. You're going to be
No,
surprised, and sometimes it's a great surprise, and sometimes it's you're capturing those moments. I mean, the beauty of that moment of him stubbing his toe is that you had a freaking 100 different angles of it. You know what I mean?
and and the true beauty of it is whoever was on that camera live had made that motion 1,000 times. That's the movement. But that one time it was,
Yeah,
and
he
he
held it.
did that.
He
He
held it.
didn't go through it. He stopped.
Yeah,
You know
I mean
that's
it's
impressive. I don't know
you.
who it
Yeah,
was,
I thought
but
that
I'm
too.
glad it
Like,
was them and not
yeah,
me.
sometimes you'll see a little bit of a little bit of a nudge on the shot, and you're like, oh yeah, especially on a slow mo. So on a slow mo, man, that little nudge can be so. You're
Yeah,
like,
that
oh, come
that
on, not that bad. Come on.
that that reminds me, Hardy, and I'll try to do this without any names because you know who I'm talking about. But they were rehearsing a kickoff, and the director started. Um, I wouldn't say yelling, but it was a spirited, enthusiastic request for that person to pan faster, pan faster. And the camera operator in question said, "Oh, I'm sorry. My imaginary players are running slower than your imaginary players."
Oh my
So yeah,
God.
you can rehearse it all day long. You can have done it 1,000 times, but when it comes time to do it, it's a whole different story.
Yeah, I know. I mean, but like that's the challenge of sports. It always is. I mean, you and I have been doing this a long time. We have seen the advent of technology, the changes. You, I mean, you're still a handheld guy for the most part, right? I don't,
Yeah,
you'll do hard camera ever or rarely
once in a, I mean, I can count on one hand how many times in a year.
that you do hard camera. So
Yes.
I mean, that's you, and there's a few others that are, I would say, anomalies because of, handheld in most cases, you'll talk to most guys and they'll be, it's a young man's game because it's a hump. It's work. There's no way around it, man. You put a 50-pound camera plus lens and all the other stuff on your shoulder, and you're running up and down the field, or you're going up around the golf course, or you're going around there's no way around it. You will feel it at the end of the day, man. Not
You
about,
you do, Hardy, but mentally, it's easy. If you put me on a hard camera, that's exhausting for me because I don't have the muscle memory for it. I don't have the I don't have the ability to anticipate the way I do with a handheld camera.
yeah, it's the comfort level because I know that too because I early on I was predominantly mostly I mean early on I had the same kind of route you did. I did E&G, and so like obviously I was very comfortable with the camera on my shoulder, and obviously that was an easy way to parlay into sports because you started off doing handheld under the baskets and then other stuff like that, and then which led to everything else, and then you kind of get pigeonholed. No, I don't want to say pigeonhole. Everybody says that, but it's not really that. I feel like you just get recognized for your good work. You know, they say like, "Hey, this guy shoots a good handheld. I want to use him." I didn't
Yeah,
take it as an offense ever. I always took it more as a compliment. Like, you know what? There are a couple of guys that like my work, and I like working with them. So like, that's a good combination. When you find somebody who you like to work with and they like
exactly.
your work, you go with that. But
Well, that
handheld is work.
you said, passing things along to people, and that's one of the biggest things that is find somebody else that's coming up. I started when I moved over to CBS to do camera. Um, I got in with Artie Kempner, and Artie was also just starting out as a director, and he and I taught each other what a handheld camera, and he and I just, I rode his coattails all the way to the top and down.
Yeah, well, I jumped on Artie's coattails too. Artie the first opportunity to work a Super Bowl when I did the one in Arizona with him, and he's given me other opportunities to work with him many other times. He's a great guy. He was a great he. What my favorite story about Artie Kempner, and since we were talking about kicks and stuff like that, was he was came to New York during the when we were HD, but we were still framing. You remember those days when we were still
Oh,
framing
right, right, right. 4x3 safe.
yeah, protect the 4x3, protect because grandma was still watching it at home. But we had been doing it we had been HD for a while now, and we were on an NFL game. And I'll never forget the camera meeting because Artie walks in with a big smile on his face. And, director camera meetings are always great, especially when they're with guys who have
Especially
energy.
artists.
And Artie has energy, right? So he came in with a big smile. So we already knew something was up. And he's like, "Gentlemen, today we're going to be doing a high definition broadcast and we will be framing for such broadcast." And so we were like, "Oh, interesting. No more 4x3 protect." And the game was kind of interesting. Like everything kind of worked okay with the framing from kickoff, blah, 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 until we got to the first punt. And when you frame for the punt, that kicker, that kicker is in that outside little window there. And when we framed it up and you looked in return, and you still kept your lines up there, so you knew, oh shit, if the 4x3 world isn't going to see that kicker on this if he takes this shot, because like it was outside of you had to be 16x9, and he took the shot. We did that game framing for a 16x9, a full game that time, the first time ever. So I credit Artie with having the guts to go HD before anybody else going HD. So yeah, it was great. I mean, but
he's still good about pushing the envelope.
yeah. So let's talk a little
He
about
invented that.
let's talk about the gear. So what is the gear you working on mostly now? RF? You're always in RF? Is it always in RF? Was it always in RF for you?
Well, not on football.
Oh yeah, obviously football.
Football, I'm still on a wire.
Yeah, well they don't do. The only guy not on a wire in football now is like these Movies or the Steadicam guys or whatever. Well, actually, CBS does have an RF handheld. You're right.
For at least a season while I was there, it was RF.
Yeah, you had a good run on the CBS. You were on the A shoe for how many? Over a decade, I would think, maybe, right? Or
I think it was either 17 or 18 years.
oh yeah, God, yeah, 17 to 18 years. How many Super Bowls?
We took over. I say we. Our crew took over the A game the year after the Super Bowl in Houston with Janet Jackson.
Oh, you missed that one, huh?
So no, well, I was there.
Oh, you were for that? You were working on that?
I was a guest.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was a guest on that show.
That's interesting. So, which was your first Super Bowl that you actually worked?
Well, okay.
As a camera, it was a CD.
The first one was in Tampa. We did an HD show. It was a side by side, and the only places we were going we joked Circuit City and the CBS boardroom. It was an 8 Bowl. But the first one we did with the first full broadcast that we did, I want to say was I should know that. I
I,
want to
well, you
say
know
it
what?
was.
Is there a Super Bowl? Like you've done a lot of them, so like it's okay that you don't kind of remember. I've had the opportunity to work a few, and sometimes you get the facts confused with one from another
Yeah,
because,
exactly.
and it's things you would think it's crazy that you ever think that because obviously we all think like well, but I do know that you did do that was Super Bowl 50 your last one there?
That's Super Bowl 50.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
was a cool. That's a
that was
cool.
the coin toss.
That's a cool shot of the coin toss for Super Bowl 50, man. That
Yeah, I
is
agree. I agree. That's why I sent you that one.
well, so that was a cool one. That was the one I didn't do that one. That was I probably could have, but I didn't work the phone with Mike to get on that one, and because that was also when my wife had her issues, so I couldn't really do that. But I that was the one in San Fran, right? San
Right.
Francisco, right? Was that a good one for you? Or did you remember any highlights you remember from that
You
one?
know, what I remember was, you know, when you've got 100 cameras, literally, um, in the camera meeting, Lance Barrow, the producer, said, "Look, hang in there. You never know when it's going to be your shot. Just keep plugging away, keep plugging away." And I've had a couple live shots here and there, but I hadn't got that that replay that was the definitive angle until right at the end. If you remember Cam Newton's fumble, he uh, he actually stepped back from the ball. He dropped the ball, and instead of diving in, he stepped back, and that was my replay.
And you had the whole thing. Were you low? Were
Yeah,
you behind? You were behind the
yeah.
play. See, like
I was. Yeah,
that's interesting to me too because like that's the mindset of a camera guy on a handheld football, especially on a Super Bowl too. Like you said, you got 100 other cameras you're competing with, and you got to, and then it's your experience. You're working a field all the time. Most of the time, it's a handheld. You're told to be playing ahead of the field, ahead of the field, ahead of the field. But sometimes instinctually or positionally on the field, you're like, you know what? I can. There's a couple of plays I can work here, and there might be something here. And so, like, you take these little risks with your positioning to hope that it puts you in a better position to get a shot. But when it pays off,
well,
man,
but in that particular case, that wasn't a risk because I was on the same sideline as Don Cornelli.
oh,
And Donnie and I never had to talk about it, but we would just wherever one was, the other one wasn't.
yeah.
In
So
other
that just,
words,
but that's
if
just
I
no,
went short, he went long.
yeah.
Well, yeah, I've also worked with some others that you could discuss it and talk about it and have a plan for it. And 2 seconds into the game, they're doing their own show.
Yeah, well,
And it's usually
you
not a
always,
good one.
yeah, you always have those kinds of things. But
But
that's interesting. But
with
like,
Donnie and I never had to talk about it. It just it just happened. It was magic.
yeah. Well, I always consider Don Connelly Hall of Fame cameraman. I call him the working man's cameraman, man, because first of all, he just shows up and does the work, and nobody you can't you can't doubt like the bulk of work when you do it day in and day out, day in and day out, day in and day out, and you still should have you keep it at that level. Like that's just great. And you then not make it the fact that you're easy to work with and you're a good guy and it makes it so much better. But like you have a different reputation. Like you're a tougher guy to
Oh,
work with because you're more Donnie will get mad to somebody if
Donnie,
something goes wrong, but he's not going to be as vocal about it to that person. He's just going to be, we all have our
Donnie,
things that make us because we care. That's about caring. You care.
Donnie uses a scalpel. I use a chainsaw. Okay, if
Hey, I'm a New
they
York guy.
both
We
work,
switchbladed.
they both work. It's just
Yeah,
yeah, and
everybody has their take. Do you find that? I mean, I worked with you. I like working with you. I've like working alongside you. I haven't had to work directly with you and like be your utility and stuff like that. But do you like? But I know the guys that you've had with you for many years doing your utility work. Um, do you kind of like weed them out and not weed them out, but like make sure that they know you're do you let them make mistakes. You want them to learn, but you kind of prevent that stuff too. Do you talk to these guys? You let them know, hey, we're going to do things this way. This is how I like to do things. You might think this, and like, what do you do with your guys to make sure? Because I know that, utility.
Well, I start by saying, if I happen to yell at you in the next 4 hours, I'm apologizing for it now. It doesn't mean that I don't mean it at that moment, but in the big picture, I don't really mean it.
That's a good way to put it, because you're right. In the heat of battle, things can
I
get
don't have
heated.
time to discuss it and worry about your feelings. And, again, Lance Barrow, don't tell me how rough the seas are. Just bring the ship home. That's my mindset. I'll apologize for it in the beginning. I'll apologize for it after, but for this window of 3 hours or whatever it is, I am singularly focused on doing a great job.
Yeah, that's what I meant. What I said in the beginning, when I looked at you and I said this guy's different, because like you do bring that attitude every time. Like I don't care if it was the Super Bowl or if it's the preseason game, you fucking bring it. Like you just like it's part of your DNA to just be that guy on the camera that wants to contribute to the show, and that to me is that's you can't teach that kind of thing. Like in what I'm trying to do is trying to teach people the mindset of what we do and what we have to think about, but certain things you can't teach. You can develop them, but that takes you have but it's within you to develop your routine, what works for you, what helps you elevate your skill level to get to where you want to get to.
Well, and part of it is, I mean, I had somebody a long time ago whose opinion mattered to me at the time, said I'd never amount to anything. Well, that stuck with me. And, I didn't know how, but I knew I wanted to be great at what I do. And I would like to think that I've had a level of success that is better than average.
I'm going to say
Um,
that I would agree with that, because I see you sent me some pictures. I got your display at home there. That's a pretty nice display at home to be proud of, man.
my wife built that for me.
Oh, that's really nice, man. That's really nice. We saw
Yeah,
that one. You work, like you said, this is a collaborative work environment. We
that
work with a
that
bunch of
is the
great
first
guys.
year at that's the first year at Fox.
Oh, the first year with Fox. Oh, that was
Yep.
when that you know what I talked to Mario Zecca about those years, because that first year for Fox, a lot of people don't realize that when Fox got the contract for football, they used that first season the CBS crew.
That I mean, there might have been a couple of additions in there, but one day we were working for CBS, and the next day, the announcers, the producer, director, the trucks, the CBS staff guys, we were all working for Fox.
That
And
had to
it
be
was
weird. It had to be really weird. But who was directing that for them?
Artie.
It was Artie. But so Artie,
It was
was
Artie's crew.
well. So it must have been good for Artie because he knew all you guys. So it was probably better for him. I mean,
Oh,
Artie now
like I
developed.
said, the announcers were the same. Everything was the same.
Yeah, that was a strange time. Like you would never see. I don't know if you could ever see that being done like that again. So it was definitely a strange moment in
Well,
the.
I mean, the Amazon pretty much just picked up an NBC crew.
Hey, yeah, actually, you're right. Now that you think about it, when they do a lot of these shows now, they use other. I mean, MLB, Fox does a lot of shows for
Right.
other. Yeah, the business. Let's talk about the business of the business, because in my mind, I think the two biggest things that have changed the business is gambling and streaming. So, what do you think of those two things?
Hey, well, it's funny. They brought in two new revenue streams, and they still cut budgets like it's going out of style. So, um,
Well, yeah,
no,
somewhere along there, there's a monetization strategy that's just not working, right? Because you're right.
it's
How do
not
you
working its
create
way
two
down.
revenue streams and still cut stuff?
Right. No, I watched a little bit of your talk with Hulk, And he said, to me, it doesn't matter where it airs. Last weekend we sat down and somebody had a map on their phone of where our game was going, what percentage of the country. And that stuff, early on of interest to me. Uh, but a long time ago, I stopped caring about where it was going, and it was about the people on headsets with me. If I could make those people happy, the other camera guys, the director, the tape guys, if I could make them happy, the rest of the world's going to be thrilled.
That's kind of interesting to think that way because it is like when a show goes well, because like I hate to break the world news to the world, but when the show is over, we don't all just get to leave and walk away. We still have to spend a few more hours there breaking down the set and the shows and the gear. And during that time, you kind of reflect on the job and the show. And if it was a shit show or things didn't go as well, like that strike isn't usually as well and it's nice, you kind of like, so it matters. Like there is a post-mortem to the work that we do. Like nobody,
Oh,
everybody wants to be
100.
the one that leaves happy, gets home, goes back to the hotel, showers, gets cleans up, pops on the TV, and maybe catches a highlight of their game and like, oh, okay, that's all right. We're good.
I don't want this to sound like sour grapes, but now that I'm a few years with Fox from my second stint, um, I can't think of a show that I've walked away from and said, "Well, that sucked."
No,
They
not
have.
at this level. We don't get you don't get that at
Oh,
that level unless
we
unless
we
something
did
really
it.
went bad.
We did it, and well, again, no names, but we got to the end of it, and the director said, "Nice show, everybody." And this person opened his key and said, "Then what was all that yelling about?"
Well, I mean, a good show doesn't mean there's always going to be a good time on headsets. I mean, there's always going to be a good show, but something can, I don't know, man. We do
Yeah,
work in a very weird industry,
I tell
although
you,
it's
Hardy.
better now. Like, I will say this 30 plus years into this business, the atmosphere, the chatter, the talk on headsets is a lot calmer and better now than it was.
Which I'm not sure is a good thing.
Well, it's not as
Um,
I mean, you're right. In some ways, like the fear factor of getting your head ripped off
yes,
if you made a mistake helped motivate me to not make mistakes. And
yes, and
it's
and I do live golf, and we have a great number of Euros and Australians that work with us, and Americans, and we have a European director
which golf you do,
and
which golf do you do now? PGA?
live,
Oh,
live,
live. Oh yeah, the live
yeah.
golf.
So we were discussing our first live director was an American, and he was tough. He is tough. Um, the Euro that we have is just super laid back, and it's funny. I tend to gravitate. I need that fear factor. I need that. I get it with Artie. I get it with there are a few of them out there, and I won't mention any names. But yeah, I need that.
Sometimes I get that because sometimes the wild horses need to be wild, run wild. You can't tame the wild horse. Sometimes you just gotta let them learn how to, rile them in a little bit. I get that. I can see that, but because sometimes, not that I like it. Sometimes I have worked with the directors. Like I work on my entertainment talk show that I work on every day is The View. I work with Sarah DeLeo. She's one of the best directors I've ever worked with. Who visually sees the set and the backgrounds details that it's incredible to me. Her vision behind and we have 9 cameras on the show, and she can catch details like that. And it's she's balancing so many other things, and it's incredible to watch somebody do all that. I like learning that. I like watching somebody do their thing, but it forces me to be able to think and make sure that when I frame up a shot, I have to pay attention to all this background and make
Well,
sure that I note these things. Oh, they look like this would drive her crazy. Like this monitor's going around in my head or whatever. Like I got to frame my own shit up better.
yeah, Bob Fishman was like that at CBS. Bob saw that I had a shot before I realized I had a shot, and he'd take it, and what the hell am I shooting? What did he see that I didn't see? Because I didn't think I was done framing that shot.
Well, Bob Fishman, since we've had a chance to talk a little bit about some directors, you worked with Artie, Mike Arnold, but Bob Fishman, like I only had a chance to work with him a handful of times, man. But I also had a wonderful opportunity in my career during those years at the U.S. Open that we all did for so many years when CBS had him. He'd be doing the big court there, and I was doing video back then, a lot more work, and I'd be able to come in and do relief. So I get a chance to hear the truck and hear the show and see what's going on and watch all the cameras and punch around the router and see all you guys working and hear. And he was challenging, and he rode the moments of intensity so
Oh,
well and told amazing stories with all your guys, all the people. He knew where things, and he knew when to hold shots and when to. I felt he was a cameraman's director, and when I finally had the opportunity to work with him, you just felt the nurturing of he really he knew the value. He was the first. Not, I mean, I think every director appreciates the camera guys and the work that we do. At least I hope they all do. But he was the first guy that I felt like he really wanted to have a hand in trying to make you better. Like he took pride in that. I think he really did. I think he really took pride in the fact that his crew, that guys that worked with him, got better after working with him.
oh, you had to. I mean, you had to be better to work for him. And if you gave it to him, he'd take it. If you gave him gold, he always got it on the air.
Yeah, you can't teach that neither. Like someone, they see it, they know it's there, they're anticipating. It's an amazing way to get the work done.
Yeah,
So like,
yeah.
who
It
else?
just
Fishman, but Fishman never. I mean, I think CBS had at one time thought maybe that he'd get an opportunity to do a Super Bowl in his career. He didn't. I think he ended up, how many countless Final Fours. I mean, he did it. He had an amazing career of bodies of work and told amazing stories all the time. But he
yeah.
was. What were the shows that you felt that when you worked with him, you did the Final Four with him, right?
I did a couple, and always on like an ancillary camera, like maybe it was well, they were always robotic. So I wasn't in his main cut, but it was a treat. It was a scary treat because I'm not always sure that at that time I was up to his standards as opposed to Frank Jerkinian, who told me I wasn't up to his standards.
How do you work with a guy that tells you that? I mean, do you just take it on as a challenge and say, "Hey,
Oh
give me a
my!
chance, and I can hopefully prove you wrong"? Or I know I might not be that guy
Oh,
now, but I think I can.
I knew I was in over my head with Frank. I knew it, but there I was, and that's one of those things for kids just starting out. If you wait till you have the experience, you'll never get it.
Yeah, don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid of the challenge. Everybody
I mean,
has their first make mistakes. You're gonna do it, whatever. If you learn from it, I always think the most important thing when you're dealing with when you get that first opportunity and you're on a show with the director, whatever, you have to be honest and upfront and just say, listen, let them know this is what I've done up to this point. I've done this, I've done that, I've done
oh
it, I've
God,
done a
no,
little.
Hardy, no, 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 no,
You
no,
don't
no,
think
no,
that's
no,
the, you think
no,
you think fake it till you
no,
make it?
yeah.
I
And
think
what I tell
I think
what
you
I
open
tell
yourself
people,
up and just say, "Hey, listen, I can
look,
do that, but if you see something that I'm not doing, you need to tell me that because if you're
no.
expecting me to know it,
Here's my philosophy. Again, young Jimmy Kimmons just stepping into the business. I tell people wherever you go to work first, that's not where you're going to end up. So you show up at company XYZ and you fuck up everything you can touch. but you make sure you're learning from it because the next place you go, you'll have the experience.
I mean, it's you're giving advice, and I think I will say it's probably good advice, but it's also risky advice. I mean, I think you have to be a different type of person to follow that advice. You have to be very confident in the fact that,
Well,
and thick skin. I mean, well, you need the thick
I
skin in this
look,
business for sure.
I maybe it was a different time, but I showed up. I listened. I asked questions. I made myself as prepared as I thought I could be, and then I made mistakes. Lucky, I lived through most of them.
Was there ever a show that you walked away from and you were like, oh man, I really think I might not get called back?
Yeah, but it wasn't because of my work. It was something I said on headsets.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, that can happen too. I mean, the atmosphere. You know what? That's true. We work in an environment where we work with a lot of people, and it's pressure, it's sports, it's other people, and sometimes it's tough to adjust and know the rules and know where other people are in their mindset in the game. Like, we're under pressure to get shots, to be in a position where we're supposed to be and get there and in a timely manner because it all matters. And then you have to be cognizant of other people's it's tricky. It's always going to
It
be
is.
tricky. So you're doing football, you're doing golf. Is there a sport or is there work that you're thinking you'd like to do? Is there something that still is on the Jimmy Kimmons bucket list of jobs that he'd like? I wouldn't mind doing that. I've been seeing a lot of weird sports on YouTube and online now that like there's like this crazy um like big giant like soccer style hockey, like a big giant ice thing. I think it's played in like
Oh
Russia,
my God.
and it's probably 11 players I need. So picture that, and it's a bigger goal, but it's so there are weird other sports out there that are being broadcast in other countries. I don't know if they're ever going to come here, but is there
No,
something you'd like to do?
and I'm kind of doing it. Um, I got a chance last year to go back and do a NASCAR race up in Chicago, and I got a chance to go do the Indy 500. Now,
And wait, you had never done the Indy 500?
no, Indy is where I cut my teeth in racing. That's where I learned um, doing utility for ABC at the race. Now, I went on to do camera for IndyCar for years and years and years, but it's been 25 years maybe since I've been to an open wheel racetrack.
So when you were
So
so
it's
when you were cutting your teeth shooting racing back in the day, you're talking 4x3 cameras with a 55 lens, maybe.
well, it was still handheld. I've
So you were still
I,
you were
I've
always
I've done
so you were in the pits all the time. Oh, you were working
yeah,
pit.
or robotics.
Are you done with your football? Or you still got more games going?
No, I'm definitely going through wild card week, and then golf is right around the corner. It starts in March.
How is that? How is the travel for golf for you?
This year is going to be a little different. The past 3 years, uh, a group five of us have done all of the live shows. So Singapore, Hong Kong, Australia, Korea, um, literally around the world.
Now,
Uh,
that's got to be amazing travel now. Like, I mean, I have been lucky enough to do some obviously domestic travel for football, but I got some international stuff too, going to London. We did the game together in Mexico City. Remember that one? Oh my God.
oh yeah,
Oh, I never seen Azteca Stadium. They don't even have,
that
I'd never
place was
seen
something else.
bathrooms like that in a stadium. I never seen a stadium like that. They had Azteca Stadium. If you've never been there, you don't know what it is in Mexico City. The upper deck is separated by barbed wire around the whole thing. the
Chain link
whole,
fence and barbed wire.
yeah,
The top
it,
third of the stadium.
yeah, it's incredible. But so you've been able to chance to, like, so it's funny to now um see broadcasting internationally around the world, right? It's got to be really, really
Well, you know
interesting.
what? What I've learned is that everybody talks. Oh, the ratings are this, the ratings are that, or there's no interest in the United States. Well, what I've learned, Hardy, is the world is a big place, and not all of it revolves around the United States.
Well, that's true. I mean, you're right. I mean, soccer is a worldwide sport, much bigger than any of the sports here. And but we tend to feel like the way we do things was always the best and everything, which is good. I mean,
Yeah,
we elevate the game for sure. I think in the way we do things, but we're not the only ones doing it. That's
no,
definitely for sure. Especially
no,
a company like Live. Obviously, we're talking about we tell stories with equipment and we tell stories with some really cool like expensive equipment. Like when you talk about high speed cameras and all this stuff. And
hmm
I'm pretty sure the guys that Live got the budget to, have those things on the shows and have good gear, nice stuff.
they
So
do,
they make,
they do,
that's
and
something that
and
I think is lost production value, right?
right, and you don't realize what a big world it is until you see the numbers for something in Korea. Number one, I think this is correct. The number one golf market for equipment in the world is Korea right now.
Really? It's that big of a sport there? Do they have a lot of golf courses? Are you doing an event in Korea?
Yeah, I mean we have the last 2 years. I think it was 2 years. Maybe it was just one, but we got axed from the Americans. Got axed from all the Far East stuff this year. So our first golf will be in South Africa.
How do you how do you differentiate the courses? What do you think the courses are like working? I mean, obviously working in a different country, language barriers and all that other stuff. But obviously Australia and some of the other ones aren't that big of a deal.
You know what? It's really it's really kind of interesting. Once we start, it's it's the three golfers and us inside the ropes. There really is no difference. It could be in Greensboro, it could be in Hong Kong. The only difference is maybe they don't exactly understand. You know, excuse me, Kurt.
Are you a million miler yet? You got to be a million miler, right? You
Oh
got to be a
God,
couple of million miler, right?
with a couple different airlines.
Oh my God. I mean, that just goes to show like when you start a career and you start doing this stuff and you start, so you've really done your job rarely ever from home, right? I mean, you're not, you don't work at home. You're always on
No,
the road for work, right?
yeah. I mean, when I lived in Indianapolis, I do a very occasional pacer game. Um, but those were few and far between because when I moved to Indianapolis, I didn't want to show up and take someone else's work. I had my work. It was stuff on the road. So once in a blue moon, they'd have an opening, and I'd go do a pacer game. But that wasn't my regular deal.
So let's talk for real now, the hard part about this job. When you're on the road, how do you find that balance? How do you find your balance for life to do the things that you want to do outside of work?
Hardy, I've gone full circle with my work. I went from being afraid the phone would never ring to being afraid the phone would ring. Um, I've gone from maybe working once a month to working months without a day off. Um, now I'm back to if I work a couple times a month, that's good.
Yeah, that is, but it's hard, right? That is a hard thing to do because there is that as like, we'll talk. You worked for years for different companies. I worked for years for different companies, and then you move on for whatever reasons it is. We're not staff. We're not guaranteed anything. What I did for my work 10 years ago is not what I did for my work this year.
No,
Like it's
and
always
and
going to be a different mix.
again, since hopefully there are people that are going to hear this that are
I sure hope so.
much younger. There was a comma there, not a period. Uh, hopefully, the younger people will hear this coming from somebody much older. But a couple of weeks ago, one of my contemporaries uh, said, I worried my whole life about the next job, and I look back at it now and realize the work was always there.
That's profound right there. That is profound. It's going to be there, man.
It it's
It's us that we put that pressure on you put that pressure on yourself because you think that, oh my
well,
God, oh my God, oh my God, they're going to forget about me.
there are a couple of caveats to that. Yeah, there's always work there. I'm lucky enough that I've largely worked with people that I want to work for, to work with. I didn't have to take a lot of bad jobs that I could have. I've been good about looking forward and getting in at the beginning of things rather than chasing at the end. You uh, NASCAR with Fox. The first 3 or 4 years was great. They threw money at it, and then they started cutting back. So looking ahead, no, have an exit strategy.
Well, you always have to have, I mean, this business is going to be, it is an evolving business and it's changing. And it's weird, like, because, I was talking to some of the guys last week about, where our particular craft is going, because there's always been talk about how there's graphics, audio, and EVS being done remotely at different facilities now. And, you get cloud shows and stuff like that. Um, we have always been kind of point of sale people. You're a camera guy, you're at the facility, you're there. But there is going to be a time. I mean, I don't know if it's AI or robos or what it's going to be, but there is ways, and it's done. It's doable now that you could operate a hard camera or another camera from home. You can't do that as a handheld. You have to be there. So, in one respect, you picked a pretty secure pathway in
Oh,
doing.
nobody wants my job.
Well, yeah, because you're probably right. It is the harder path. It is the harder path because it's without a doubt, Jimmy. It's definitely the more demanding craft. But you do get the joy of, like, when you are the handheld, it is only you who can get that shot. It is only you who could get yourself into that position. As a hard camera and a position-based camera, you are where you are and you ain't going anywhere.
That's right.
So the shot is the shot because it's where I'm at. But when it's the shot is the shot because if you put yourself there, it's a whole different thing. So I think that's the little thing I think that feeds you more. That is that.
Oh, 100%, Hardy. I'm on a giant scavenger hunt all day long. That piece of the puzzle that fits, that piece of the puzzle that doesn't fit. And I'm not shy about going up and asking somebody, explain this to me. Why is this happening? It's it's fun. It's fun.
That is the truth. That I think we should end on that. That this job is fun. If you can find your way into getting past those mistakes and the learning curve and everything else and getting a little yelled at and blah 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 blah, if you can fight your way through it and build the confidence up, you will have fun doing something. And I think that's an important lesson. Like, you worked
That
your ass
that's
off, man, but you know what? You have definitely had fun doing it, man.
oh my god.
I gotta say, when I say a guy has worked his ass off, I mean, you've taken some shots. You've taken some shots on your
I've, I've
ass.
I've taken a few.
Yeah, I mean, so, like, that was it, and it was fun. I mean, I remember some shot. I mean, you've had a few where you've gotten knocked down, man, but the best has always been, like, there's always the shot of you getting back up and ready to go work again. It's always
Well,
like,
okay. Somebody said, I don't know how you got up from that. And I said, oh, I knew every camera would be on me. I may die later, but I'm not going to die right there with all the cameras on me. I will get up.
so when you got hit, that who hit you? Jennings, right? That was the Raiders. Boy, that must.
Hmm.
So when you knew when you got down that you were gonna have to get back up, and you felt the hit. You took
Oh,
a shot, dude.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. You feel it.
Was your camera still working, or did you have to like? Was there anything wrong with your the gear or
Oh,
no?
on that particular time, I don't remember, but I will say I got clocked one time, and Mike Arnold literally said, "Is the camera okay?" And Lance says, "What do you mean? Is the camera okay? Is Jimmy okay?"
And then is the camera working still? Yeah,
Exactly.
I
But
know.
it just goes to show you where his mind is.
Well, yeah, well, there's always that. You're always gonna have people that in the heat of the game, you're gonna think what you're gonna think. Jimmy,
Right.
I can't thank you enough for taking the time to do this, man. I hope you enjoyed talking to me, because I've really enjoyed
I
talking
did. I
to you,
loved it.
man. I, I,
Loved it.
I've, you know what? I have been a fan of your work. I've enjoyed watching your work for many, many years, and I'm going to continue to watch your shit, man, because I think your shit is great. I loved what you
Thank you.
bring. I love what you bring. I love how you bring it. I love your
Is there any
attitude
chance you could
about it.
start directing? Because those people are few and far between.
Well, I don't know what I'll do in my career, man. I'm right now. I'm just trying to figure it out too, and I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I'm liking it. I'm liking learning from others. This has helped me learn. Learning about you helps me learn a little bit more about me, about how I want to push myself more. Because I think when you have decades in this business doing what you're doing, and you've been beaten up, pushed down, all of the above, but you still want to maintain that drive to, like you say, scavenger hunt for that shot. You still want to have that little itch that says, like, because it's fun, but it's rewarding too, because when you do get that shot and you hear your tape machine, because they know
Yep.
every camera guy knows his machine. You're going to hear your tape machine called, and you're like, I got it. So,
Yep.
Jimmy, you got it, brother. Thank you again,
Thanks,
man.
pal.
Be good.
You're a prince.
All
See
right,
ya.
take care.